Welcome back to Transfer Talk. We're going to cross live now to Paris, where we can speak to French football expert Jonathan Johnson. Jonathan, great to have you on the show. Want to get straight into Manuel Ugarte. A deal done now. Are PSG happy with what they're receiving?
Yeah, I think PSG are. He's a player who has sort of been on the market now since the beginning of the summer. Quite clear that Luis Enrique didn't really have him in his plans in a meaningful way. And I think PSG were very happy when Manchester United first showed interest. Obviously, it's taken quite a long time to get to this point where it's now essentially a done deal. But I think there's a bit of sort of disappointment, really, that Ugarte showed a lot of promise early on in his time with PSG, and it's a perfect advert for what Manchester United fans might be able to expect from him. But just that kind of profile of player didn't quite fit for PSG. So for PSG to essentially make back what they spent on him 1 year later after what had been a fairly underwhelming first year all told, and then potentially be able to profit in the future should Ugarte move on from Manchester United is also quite good business, I think, on PSG's end.
Jonathan, what about Victor Osimhen? We know that PSG have been interested in signing him previously in this window. Is that done from PSG's perspective now? That interest is over?
I think since PSG lost Gonzalo Ramos to injury in the first game of the season, they have been looking at a number of different options in attack. The issue, though, with Osimhen obviously comes the price tag that Napoli would want in order to part with him. And I think in terms of what PSG need, because they're looking for a versatile defender who can potentially play one of the fullback spots as well as in central defence, and possibly a versatile attacker, possibly more of a winger as well. It doesn't quite fit sort of with Osimhen's profile, despite the fact that many feel that PSG really need an out-and-out number 9, prolific source of goals, but that would complicate things when Ramos returns from injury, and you've got Randall Kolo Muani as well. So although there has been interest in the past from PSG and Osimhen, the feeling is as well to have the sort of money that PSG would need to negotiate for Osimhen, a number of players would have to leave the club on top of Ugarte to United.
Hi Jonathan, my new favourite player to talk about, Maxence Lacroix, on his way from Wolfsburg to Crystal Palace. He's played at international level for France at the lower levels. What can Palace expect from him? Of course, someone who's worked with Glasner before.
Yeah, solid defender who, like you said, knows the coach from their previous time together. So he is a player who had a very strong patch of form a while back with Wolfsburg. Dropped off a little bit, I think, when he was disappointed that he wasn't able to move on from the club the first time. But it seems like this is now the right time for him to make the move. Obviously, we'll pair up in central defence with another defender in Chris Richards, who's familiar with the Bundesliga as well. So I think Glasner's certainly starting to stamp his mark on this Palace side. And Lacroix, a defender who many people feel sort of has played within himself maybe for the last year or so.
Jonathan, let's discuss some other potential deals. Boubakary Samara, is he on his way out of Leicester?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. So he's wanted by Lyon and Monaco potentially before the end of the transfer window. Monaco have been doing some interesting transfer dealing so far this summer, gone for a number of very talented young players, but also looked to bring in some more experienced heads as well. And Soumare, obviously familiar with Ligue 1 from his time at Lille, would be a player who ticks those boxes. Lyon trying to do the best business that they possibly can on a very limited budget, given the constraints that they're under and the need to sell some players between now and the end of the transfer window. So Soumare could be potentially a cost-effective solution for them there.
Ryan Cherki's been linked with a move to the Premier League. Do you see that happening?
I don't know if I see that happening this window now. There's been a couple of clubs who have had the opportunity to potentially strike a deal with both Lyon and Cherki, and it hasn't quite worked out. Fulham most recently in the Premier League, but also Borussia Dortmund in the Bundesliga as well. There's now speculation in France that he may well end up signing a contract extension, which obviously would safeguard his potential value. There have been other clubs linked with him as well, but it feels like it's starting to get a bit late in the day now for what has been a fairly problematic transfer this summer to get done to any club in the Premier League.
Jonathan, thanks ever so much. Great to have you on the show.
Only one place to start, Old Trafford on Sunday afternoon. Manchester United against Liverpool. 2 wins from 2 so far, for Arne Slot, but this is probably the day where he really finds out what being the Liverpool manager is all about.
Yeah, this is it. This is a big football match. I think, Liverpool have to go to Man United and get a result. And if you're a Man United fan, cup final for them. The one thing we say about Man United over the last few years is consistency. I thought they did all right against Fulham. I thought they played some good football. And against Brighton, we're unlucky. The disallowed goal hits his knee. But they shouldn't lose that football match. The worst, you come away from there with at least a draw. This is a big football match. Big football match. I don't see Man United losing this game. I think Man United cause Liverpool problems. I think it'll be an entertaining 2-2 draw this game.
Interesting, and it was a 2-2 draw in the Premier League last season, and it almost felt that with Klopp, Liverpool got sucked into being a bit chaotic against Manchester United, and you wonder whether the way that Slot started, they might just try and be a little bit more patient and make their way through the game that way.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Liverpool are a different team now. They're not going to play the Klopp way. The manager's coming with his own ideas, and he's more solid, and he's more, not regimental in, they're safe, but they're more cautious at the same time. They've got great players up front where the manager goes, you lot get on with it and win us the game, and we'll make sure we're solid at the back. Man United don't want a gung-ho game. So I think this plays into Man United's hands that Liverpool will come and play a little bit safer. Because if this gets into an end-to-end football match, Liverpool have more of a threat and probably have better players all round the pitch. So for me, that's where I think it plays into Liverpool's Man United's hands a little bit more with Liverpool the way they will play. But I still think it'll be an entertaining game. There's too much talent going forward on this pitch for there not to be goals.
You would expect there to be goals as well in the earlier game on Super Sunday. Newcastle against Tottenham. Not been a happy hunting ground for Spurs in recent years. But Spurs very, very good at Everton or against Everton last weekend. Newcastle struggling for defenders at the moment. Would you expect something more positive from Tottenham this time up in the northeast?
Not really. I think this is a difficult game going to Newcastle. The last two times they've been there, they've been absolutely destroyed. I mean, destroyed ain't the word. So, for me, I see Newcastle going after. I think it's a big test for Tottenham. Great result last week. I didn't see anything but that result. The week before, I thought they were absolutely outstanding against Leicester for 45 minutes. When it went 1-1, it was worrying. A big game for Tottenham. I think Tottenham come here, go there and make sure they don't lose this football match. I think that's a positive and a good step forward. But, they were good last week. But, Everton were bordering on atrocious. And Tottenham made them pay. And I think if Tottenham would have scored the second against Leicester, I think, you're looking at Tottenham would be top of the league at the moment. But we're looking at what happened with the Leicester game in the second half. And that was the worrying signs for me. If they get a draw, I think it's a real good result, Rob. A real good result.
Would the biggest positive of the week for Newcastle be if they could get Mark Guéhi done between now and tomorrow?
Yeah, I think they've got to. I think, I hear Clinton. I've been on side with Clinton and he's saying about 5 million between both teams. That 5 million in Premier League football is a cup of tea. It is a cup, in Premier League football for 5 million. If you want him that badly, you go the extra 5 million. I don't know if it's ego and pride that gets in the way. You go, you're not going to do us. We're not going to get done by you. And then it fizzles out. For me, Palace have to keep him. But at the same time, Newcastle need him. He's a good defender. He gives you the opportunity with his pace that you can push the fullbacks forward, who they've got very good fullbacks at Newcastle who want to get forward. So that gives you the option then if you get Guéhi in with his pace. But for me, they've got to get that over the line. I think it's an important situation, important signing for an extra 5 million. I can't believe the way I'm talking. It's a cup of tea, but it is in Premier League football. I
tell you what, I want some of the tea you're drinking if it's 5 million quid a cup. It's absolutely delicious.
Yeah. You know what I mean, Rod.
I do. Let's go to Chelsea on the pitch, because we've spoken about recruitment. But I guess the one thing that last week showed, particularly second half, is they've got some incredibly good players in that squad already, because they took Wolves to the cleaners after half-time.
You know what? A brilliant finishing. Some brilliant finishing, brilliant counter-attacking football. Wolves were terrible. I don't want to be a party pooper here, and I don't want to be, I'm a Chelsea fan. Don't want to be flat track bullies. The week before didn't lay a glove on Man City. Didn't lay a glove. The end of the season, finished the season beating West Ham, Brighton, Forest. Couple of weeks before that, getting smashed at Arsenal 5. That's the benchmark. This is what I say about Chelsea. It's consistency. It's consistency. And this is what they need to do. They need to beat Palace this weekend, and then when they start playing the big boys, they've got a great start to the season. They've got some real good fixtures, but it's consistency. This lad, Mudawuki, got a great hat-trick. I mean, real good finishes, hitting them hard, low, down at the goalkeeper's feet, and was very good. He's got to do that again this weekend. And this is what it's all about. It's being consistent. It can't be a 9 out of 10 one week and a 4 out of 10 the week after. And this is world class. Neto's different class. And then the finish by João Felix, they've got the players, Chelsea. They have got the players. Have they got the consistency? And that's what it's about. It's about consistency. They will hurt teams, but it's when they play against your big boys, will they be able to produce? And that is the big question for me.
Yeah, and it actually goes back to something you were saying about Manchester United against Liverpool this weekend, that against Wolves you can maybe get involved a little bit in that you have a shot, we have a shot type game, but against the sort of big 6 or 7, you cannot.
No, you can't, Robert. And they opened the game up. I thought Wolves were really bad. It was worryingly bad. But they punished them with good finishing. But yeah, there's certain games you can go into and you can go, you know what, let's open this game up. We've got better players than you. It's a big pitch, Wolves. We've got a lot of pace on the counter-attack, and we'll take our chances and open this game up. You can't do it against certain other teams. They can do that against Palace this weekend. Chelsea's not the biggest pitch in the world, quite tight. That's when they've got to try and, it's going to be a different kind of game. But for me, with Chelsea, it's going to be against the big boys. I see them being flat track bullies against the lesser teams because they've got good players. But as I said, the week before against Man City, never laid a glove on them. And 6, 7, 8 weeks ago, before the end of the season, they were getting absolutely destroyed by Arsenal. I mean, destroyed.
Talking of Arsenal, they passed a big test at Aston Villa last weekend. Another one this time around against Brighton, who've looked good in the opening weeks.
Yeah, it's a difficult. I mean, they've had a hard start, Arsenal. I mean, the next 3 games, I think, are defining games of the season for Arsenal. I really do. You're talking, Brighton, who have won both games, and, on their day can pass it around and have a right go at you and can do special things. Then you've got Tottenham away and Man City away. I mean, they lose 2 of them football matches out of them 3, or even win 1 and draw 2. They're not far out the title race already. That's how ruthless it is. Man City put up numbers. We know Man City finished strongly. You don't want to be going to Man City in a few weeks, next month on Super Sunday and needing to win the game to stay in touch with Man City. So these next 2 games are massive for Arsenal. I think they beat Brighton, but again, for a game that probably at the start of the season probably looked a nice one, has become a hard game that they need to get through, and they need to get 3 points because they need to stay with Man City, in my opinion. They need to stay on their coattails. And after the international breaks, you couldn't pick 2 harder games for me. Tottenham away in a massive North London derby, and then the following week, Man City away at the Etihad. You lose both of them, and you could be 6 points behind Man City, and that's too many already. Sorry, people might go, there's 30-odd games left, but if Man City lost 3 more games, that would only give Arsenal an opportunity of losing 1 more. So, big couple of weeks coming up for Arsenal.
As for City there at West Ham on the Saturday Night Football, we still haven't seen Rodri. Mateo Kovacic picked up a little bit of a problem against Ipswich last week. Might see Ilkay Gundogan back, but that game at Chelsea, and I know you watched them beat Ipswich, the worrying thing is they seem in about second gear at the moment.
Oh, second gear. You're talking about the best player in the world, Rodri, not playing. People go, he's not the best. He is the best player in the world because best player, world class means you get in every football team in the world. And Rodri gets in every football team in the world. So the lad's world class. For me, he's the best player in the world at the moment for what he does, 100%. And he's not even playing. Kovacic just stepped in. I think that might have been precautionary last weekend. They're cruising against Ipswich, I think, he just took a knock. I think it's a bit of a dead leg. I'm sure he'll be all right. The longer they can keep Rodri rested, big advantage, and Rodri comes back for especially the Arsenal game at the Etihad. But yes, second gear, they're bringing on Gundogan, Grealish and Stones as their free subs. I mean, and the kid Savinho, wow, what a talent he's going to be. I mean, it's unreal. It's unreal. It goes as fair as saying it's not fair. It's not fair. How do you sell Alvarez for 80 million and get Gundogan back on a free? It's like being in a cheat on a computer game, isn't it? It's unbelievable.
Football Manager when you used to stick it on the easy mode. Not an easy start for the 3 promoted clubs. We lost all 3 promoted clubs last season.
I just know how old I am, Rob. When I was playing Football Manager, Crew were the top team then for me.
Crew?
Go on, sorry.
No, that's you carry on. I mean,
I used to put Neil Leonard as attacking midfield player. He used to get me 40 goals a season. I was thinking this is easy, and then one day I took over at Walsall and I couldn't believe how bad I was. But anyway, let's move on.
I didn't know you could play Football Manager on a typewriter, Merce, but apparently you can. As I was saying before we took our trip down memory lane, that those 3 promoted clubs, Leicester, Southampton, Ipswich, have you seen much from them so far?
I'm still, the jury's out on Ipswich because I look at Ipswich and they've had Liverpool, Man City, so they're not their defining moments of the season. I look at Leicester, who fortunate to get a draw against Tottenham, got destroyed first half, then go and get beat by Fulham, not a great result. I look at Southampton, they went to Newcastle and passed them off the pitch, played against 10 men for a lot of the game and lost it and never looked like scoring. And then they go and get destroyed by Forest at home. I worry for them too. I'm still, the jury's out on Ipswich because they haven't come up against teams that they're expected to get a result against. So I'll wait and see this weekend with Ipswich, but I do worry for Leicester, who I think will get destroyed by Villa this weekend, and Southampton. I mean, that was their bread and butter game against Forest, and they failed miserably, in my opinion.
Just before we let you go, am I right in saying a little birdie tells me that you know the lucky lady who's going to be your dance partner moving forward?
That is so true, what you just said as well. The lucky lady knows, yeah.
Any clues?
Yeah, I know it's all top secret, so I'm not allowed to say. But yeah, very pleased with my partner. I just hope she's pleased with me.
Well, I hope she's got plenty of plasters for her toes for the weeks of training ahead. Good man. Good to speak to you as ever. Have a good day. Cheers. Thank you very much.
And you, Rob. Take care. Have a lovely weekend. Take care.
Erik ten Hag's transfer overhaul at Manchester United, more departures than arrivals, and the cuts aren't over yet. Erik ten Hag has been systematically reshaping the Manchester United squad since his arrival, and the difference between now and 2022 is remarkable. When the £42.3 million transfer of Manuel Ugarte to Manchester United is confirmed, he will become the 15th permanent signing under ten Hag's reign. To underscore how much the Dutchman has streamlined and restructured his team, 23 players have left the club during this period, including Scott McTominay. This list includes the likes of Willy Kambwala, Hannibal Mejbri, Facundo Pellistri, Brandon Williams, James Garner, and Tahith Chong, all players who have made appearances for the first team and had hoped to solidify their places, only to find themselves moved on. United managed to secure fees for all of them, as well as for McTominay, Mason Greenwood, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Donny van de Beek, Dean Henderson, Anthony Elanga, Fred, Alex Telles, and Andreas Pereira. Additionally, 9 seasoned players departed on free transfers during this time, including Raphael Varane, Anthony Martial, Brandon Williams, Eric Bailly, Jesse Lingard, Nemanja Matic, Paul Pogba, Juan Mata, and Edinson Cavani. These exits have effectively trimmed the first-team squad by about 8 players at Carrington, even before considering the young talents that have been promoted. Kobbie Mainoo has already established himself as a regular in first-team training, with Toby Collier expected to follow suit this season. The squad Ten Hag now has at his disposal is far more manageable and cohesive. Every manager desires a core group of around 25 players in regular training, but United's squad in 2022 was bloated and difficult to manage. That's no longer the case, making it easier to focus on individual development and maintain team morale. Including Collier, United currently has a 27-man squad. While that's still slightly more than ideal, the aim is to trim at least one more player by tomorrow's transfer deadline, with Jadon Sancho a likely candidate for departure. Ten Hag has emphasized the need for 2 players in each position this season, plus 3 goalkeepers, which would result in a 23-man squad. In some areas, United is overstocked. Victor Lindelof, now the 6th-choice centre-back, might have been sold if not for injuries. Christian Eriksen is also expected to see limited action in midfield, and his exit would have opened up a pathway for Collier's development. Then there's Sancho, who is currently the 3rd-choice winger on both flanks, was left out of the Premier League matchday squad, and is not in Ten Hag's plans. United could afford to let go of Lindelof, Eriksen, and Sancho without needing to replace them, reducing the squad to 24 players and leaving room for young talents to step up when needed. If Sancho leaves this week without a replacement coming in, Ten Hag will be content with a 26-man first-team squad. This is a far cry from the situation he inherited, and with Lindelof and Eriksen likely to depart on free transfers next summer, the squad will become even more streamlined. While they can be relied upon to accept reduced roles and contribute when needed, after last season's events, Ten Hag will be hesitant to place similar trust in Sancho. Keeping the squad close to the action makes it easier to keep everyone satisfied, a situation unlikely with Sancho, which is why his exit is a priority before Wednesday night. That would bring the squad down to 26. Signings: Ugarte, Yoro, De Ligt, Xerxes, Mazraoui, Hodgland, Mount, Onana, Beinder, Evans, Antony, Casemiro, Martinez, Malaysia, Eriksen. Sold/released: McTominay, Greenwood, Wan-Bissaka, Kambwala, Hannibal, Pellistri, Van de Beek, Varane, Marshall, Williams, Henderson, Ilanga, Fred, Tells, Bailey, Garner, Pereira, Chong, Lingard, Matic, Pogba, Mata, Cavani.